Okay, so anime fans know we've had some absolutely legendary story arcs, right? Marineford in One Piece, the Pain arc in Naruto, maybe the Golden Age from Berserk. Just giants of storytelling.
Absolutely. They set a really high bar.
But there's one arc that for a lot of people hits differently. We're talking about Hunter x Hunter,
Hmm.
specifically the Chimera Ant Arc. It's got this reputation, psychological depth, like serious moral chaos, and it just emotionally wrecks you.
It really does. It leaves a mark. You might even be hearing that instrumental Hayori Itai playing faintly. It just captures that feeling perfectly, that mix of beauty and total despair.
Exactly. Sets the mood. So our mission today basically is to dive deep into this arc. Why do people call it a masterpiece? Why is it even in the conversation for the greatest anime arc ever? And yeah, how does it actually stack up against those other huge arcs we mentioned?
Sounds like a plan. There's a lot to unpack there.
Okay, let's start with maybe the most obvious thing, how it just kind of throws the usual shonen playbook out the window.
Oh, completely.
Most of the time you get clear heroes, clear villains, good guys win, you know the drill. But Chimera Ant, it's not like that at all. It feels more like, I don't know, Attack on Titan in its moral messiness, mixed with the philosophical head games of Death Note.
That's a great comparison. It really forces you to question everything. What I find so effective is how it takes the things you expect in shonen and just subverts them. The monsters, the Chimera ants themselves, they start off terrifying, sure, but they evolve.
Right, they become almost tragic figures. You start to feel for some of them, which is wild.
Exactly. And then you look at the humans, our supposed heroes, and,
Right.
well, they make some really dark choices. They do things that, you could argue are basically war crimes in the pursuit of their goal. It muddies the water so much. Who's really the monster here?
And Meruem, the Ant King, is the absolute peak of that, isn't he? His whole journey.
Phenomenal.
He starts as this like utterly ruthless tyrant biological imperative personified, but then he changes. He learns about love, about humanity through Komugi. It reminds me a bit of Zuko's arc in Avatar,
Yeah, there's a parallel there in the redemption aspect.
but it's so much darker in Hunter x Hunter. The consequences are devastating. It's not a neat, happy ending redemption. It's painful, earned through immense loss. And it makes you look at characters like Gon or even Netero differently too. They aren't purely heroic. There's a darkness there, a moral cost.
Definitely. It elevates the whole thing beyond just a fight for survival.
Okay.
It becomes this philosophical battleground. Comparing it to other big arcs, like, say, Attack on Titan's Marley arc. Both are brilliant at deconstructing heroism, showing war's ugliness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Chimera Ant arc, the way it focuses on those internal personal transformations amidst the chaos, it just hits on a different, maybe more profound level sometimes. The stakes feel incredibly personal, even with the world on the line.
That's a good point. And maybe thinking about something like Vinland Saga's Farmland arc. There's that shared theme of redemption, finding a new path after horror.
True. Thorfinn's journey is powerful.
But again, the scale in the Chimera Ant arc feels bigger somehow.
Huh.
It's not just one person's soul, it's questioning the very definition of humanity, the evolution of a species. It's huge.
Yeah, the scope is massive.
Okay, moving on from themes, let's talk character arcs because, wow, Gone. His breakdown when he faces Pitou,
Oh, man. Yeah.
it's more than just rage, isn't it? It's a complete psychological implosion. It's up there with the most devastating moments, like maybe Aaron's lowest points in AOT or Shinji in Evangelion. It's just horrifyingly memorable.
It absolutely is. But you brought up Gon's transformation. What makes that feel so different from, say, a typical shonen power-ups? Like, why does it feel earned in such a brutal way?
That's a really good question. For me, comparing it to something like Naruto going QB mode, Naruto's rage is powerful, but it often feels like a temporary boost, something he eventually learns to control or that serves the plot. Gon's transformation, it feels permanent, like he crossed a line he can never uncross.
Ah, okay. The cost.
Exactly. The cost is immense. He literally sacrifices his potential, his future, maybe even his humanity in that moment. It's born from this unbearable grief and despair, not just needing more power to win. That's why it hits so hard. He pays this terrifying price.
That makes sense. And on the flip side of intense emotion, you have Meruem and Komugi. That relationship
Mm.
is just utterly heart-wrenching. Few anime pull off something that delicate and powerful.
Agreed. It's beautiful and devastating.
It really shows that strength isn't just about physical power, right? It's vulnerability, connection. For me, it's right up there with the emotional weight of Guts and Casca in Berserk's Golden Age. It has that kind of tragic resonance.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about iconic deaths, Elle's death in Death Note was shocking, a huge moment.
Definitely a game changer for that series.
But Meruem's death, it's portrayed so differently. It's almost poetic, quiet, intimate. It feels like a culmination, a final piece of his transformation, not just a plot twist. It lands with this profound sense of peace amidst the tragedy.
You're right. It lets the weight of his journey, his change, really settle in. It's a beautifully executed ending for his character.
Okay, so we've got the themes, the characters. Let's talk about the fights.
Yeah.
Because this is another area where Chimera Ant does things differently. We're not talking Dragon Ball Z beam struggles here.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The Palace Invasion especially, it's like you said earlier, a chess match. But like a multi-dimensional chess match where the pieces have incredibly complex and dangerous abilities.
Every single move feels critical. Every strategy, every Nen ability deployed, it all matters.
And that's the shift, isn't it? From just raw power to strategy. It feels closer to the cleverness you see in JoJo stand battles, maybe, or the tactical precision of Levi using his ODM gear in Attack on Titan. You have to outthink the opponent.
Yeah. And it's not just the main guys. Characters like Morel, Knuckle, they aren't necessarily the strongest in pure power, but their strategies, their abilities are ingenious and absolutely crucial to the whole operation.
Totally. You almost need like a flow chart to keep track of who's doing what their conditions are. It respects the intelligence of the characters in the audience.
Comparing that to, say, Marineford in One Piece.
Yeah.
Marineford is pure spectacle, absolutely epic, tons of amazing moments. But the moment-to-moment fights in Chimera Ant often feel, well, smarter, more tactical.
Yeah, Marineford is about the sheer scale and the clash of legends. Chimera Ant is more about intricate plans and counterplans. It demands a different kind of engagement from the viewer, I think.
And even within HunterXHunter, think back to Kurapika versus Uvogin in the Your New arc. Great fight, really intense.
Classic. Shows net abilities brilliantly.
But then you get Netero versus Meruem. That's
Yeah.
just, it's next level fight choreography. It's tension, it's mind games, it's these incredibly unique powers clashing. It's both intellectual and just visceral.
Absolutely. A masterpiece of a fight scene.
And then bringing the emotion back into the fights. Gon versus Pitou. If you think about like Luffy versus Lucci in One Piece, that's peak determination, pushing past limits.
Yeah, pure shonen willpower, incredibly hype.
But Gon versus Pitou, it's fueled by something else entirely. It's that raw, dark grief and rage we talked about. It's the terrifying release of everything he's lost and suffered. You feel the sheer wrongness of his power, the horror of it.
It's less a heroic battle and more an execution, born of utter despair. Chilling stuff.
Okay, now we have to address the elephant in the room for this arc. The pacing. And specifically, the narration.
Ah, yes, the narration. Definitely divisive.
Some people really don't like it. They find it slows things down too much, over-explains things, breaks the immersion, and I get that sometimes.
You can see why it wouldn't work for everyone.
But honestly, for me, I actually think it works, mostly. It adds this weirdly compelling, almost documentary-style realism to it. It's kind of like Legend of the Galactic Heroes in that way, giving you deep dives into strategy, thoughts, Nen mechanics.
I lean towards agreeing with you. It's a bold choice, right? Very unconventional for shonen action. But I think it pays off. If you compare it to something like Bleach's Soul Society arc that's much faster, constant action.
Way faster, non-stop fights, pretty much.
But the Chimera Ant arc's slow burn, that deliberate pacing, it lets everything build. The tension, the dread, the philosophical weight. It makes the climactic moments hit so much harder because you've spent so much time understanding the stakes, the character's internal states.
Yeah, all that meticulous setup leads to a massive payoff. And look at the length. It's what, 61 episodes for the arc?
Something like that, yeah. It's huge compared to Marineford's 33 or other arcs.
Some might see that length and think bloated, but I honestly feel like almost every episode contributes something meaningful. Character beats, plot progression, world-building details. There's very little wasted time, even with the narration.
Right. And if you think about, say, the Pain arc in Naruto, also fantastic, very impactful, but it's faster. And maybe, arguably, some of the side characters don't get quite the same depth or time to shine as they do in Chimera Ant's slower build.
That's fair. Hunter really lets those supporting players have complex roles and moments.
Yeah, the ensemble benefits from that pacing.
So, okay, the big question then, wrapping this up. Is the Chimera Ant arc the greatest anime arc of all time?
Huh? The million-dollar question.
Well, look, if what you value most is thematic depth that really makes you think, that goes beyond simple good versus evil, then yeah, it's a really strong contender, maybe the strongest.
Agreed. If you prioritize character arcs that are deep, transformative, maybe even painful, but stick with you long after, over just cool-looking fights,
Yeah.
then Chimera Ant is way up there.
Absolutely. And if you want that huge emotional payoff, something that genuinely earns its tears and its shocks, then yeah, it delivers massively.
But it does come down to taste, right? We have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
If you prefer really tight, fast-pacing, maybe like Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood's final arc, The Promised Day.
Right, which is incredibly well paced.
Or if you're just here for pure, unadulterated hype and massy scale battles, maybe Marineford still takes the crown for you.
And that's totally valid. It depends on what you're looking for.
Exactly. Different strengths for different masterpieces.
But regardless of where you personally rank it, you can't deny the Chimera Ant Arc is.
Well, it's a masterclass in storytelling. It tackled themes and character complexity in a way few shonen or even few anime period ever attempt. It really felt like anime's Breaking Bad moment sometimes, with those complex characters and that deep dives into moral ambiguity.
That's a really good way to put it, a landmark achievement.
So, the final thought for you listening. What do you value most? Where does the Chimera Ant Arc sit for you? Or what is your number one and why? We'd genuinely love to know what makes an arc the greatest in your eyes.
Yeah, definitely think about that. And seriously, if you've listened to all this and you haven't seen HunterXHunter, especially this arc.
What are you waiting for?
Right.
Seriously, go watch it. You are in for one hell of a ride.